Welcome to Finding Balance. My name is Dr. Lindsay Myrn, and I'm a psychologist in the Counseling Center at Minnesota State University, Mankato. This on-demand presentation is one of the many different wellness-oriented services and resources we offer. So please check out www.mnsu.edu/counseling to learn more. My goals for this presentation are to really focus on stress and wellness. We'll define and discuss stress and its impact on our lives, and then shift our efforts to how to achieve some balance in our busy, sometimes chaotic worlds. Especially during this time, when things have changed so drastically because of the pandemic, we really want to pay attention to what is within our control and how to best help ourselves restore balance and wellness where we can. We will also begin and end this presentation with a brief mindfulness exercise. Resist the impulse to jump ahead and challenge yourself to give them a try. A few minutes of mindfulness can make a big difference. So let's start now. I want to start with a brief exercise called orienting to our environment. What does that mean? Well, this exercise will help us tune into our bodies and minds and figure out where our headspace is and where our attention is at. In fact, the goal is to help focus on the present moment. Instead of being sucked into the tasks and to-do lists of the day or dwelling on something, we didn't get done yesterday, bringing our focus into the here and now is a great way to settle our nervous system and gain control of our attention span. We often shift so quickly from thing to thing, browser tab to browser tab, class to class, class to work, work to family obligations. We don't allow the few minutes for our system to take in the surroundings and notice how we are feeling, something we could all use and benefit from. So let's try it together. First, notice your surroundings. Look around the room you are in. What do you see? What do you hear? See if you can notice sounds both inside the room and outside the room. What do you feel? Notice where your body is supported. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the chair, bed, or surface beneath you. Notice sensations in your body that feel okay. How do you know it feels okay? What sensations are present? Do you feel light, warm, soft, tingling, cool, heavy? Sit with those comfortable sensations for a few more moments. Continue to bring your attention back to those pleasant sensations. Focus on the present moment and on your body. And now when you feel ready, let go of the practice. To recap, this exercise allows our bodies and nervous systems to become familiar with the environment in order for us to feel safe and relaxed. Try practicing this exercise a few minutes each hour maybe, or especially before and after times of stress, and during those different transitional times as well. Now that we are all focused and alert, let's talk about stress, a common word in our vocabularies, and probably even more so these days. We usually talk about stress in two ways. First, our experience of stress, a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. And then we talk about it as an event or situation, something that causes mental, emotional, or even physical strain. Stress is a part of life. Everyone experiences stressful events at times. This could be everyday situations like an exam, a performance review at work, a conflict with a friend or a loved one. Or bigger events like loss of a job or living through a car accident. Most of the time with stress, it is short term, meaning it has an end date, it's situational, and it's tied to an event or person. And there is an urgency or a pull to respond, to do something about it, to solve the problem, maybe even a time pressure. But that eventually it dissipates and the situation is resolved. Even in this pandemic we are currently in, while we don't know when it will end, we know that it won't last forever. The body responds to stress in specific ways. Our muscles tighten, we might become hot or sweaty, our minds are racing, and we might even experience increased heart rate or rapid breathing. But once the situation passes, our physiological response returns to baseline, homeostasis. And this is an evolutionary response to stress. Our ancestors felt this way when confronted by saber-toothed tigers, the fight, flight, or freeze response. And we might feel the same way about an exam or other stressful situation we are going through at this time. It's adaptive and healthy to a certain. However, many of us feel stress at very high levels, called distress. This is the unhelpful type of stress. If you look at the graph, this is where our stress level on the x-axis is too high, and we begin to feel too much anxiety and unhappiness. This might also be called burnout, exhaustion, or even crisis. And as you can see on the y-axis, this is where our motivation is low as well. This might be the freeze response. We can feel paralyzed and overwhelmed by having too much to do or too high of stakes situations. Our motivation and performance suffer. But what's interesting is that our motivation and performance suffer also when we have too little stress. So we definitely don't want too much, but we also don't want too little. That might be called apathy, boredom. There's little pressure to study for that exam, for instance, so we avoid it. And then, of course, we don't perform well because of it. And there's actually such a thing called eustress. That's the word for good stress, healthy stress, helpful stress. We all need a little bit of pressure, that arousal, to keep us motivated. For those of you who played sports or have performed in a play or musical concert, some sort of performance, you likely did the best when you felt a little bit of that nervous energy before the performance, yet you were prepared and focused. Sometimes you might think of that as being in the zone. This is the middle area on the graph, our peak performance and moderate amount of stress or arousal. We will talk more in a few minutes about striking that balance, but before we do, let's talk about some of the warning signs we can watch out for to know if we're experiencing distress. Think to yourself, what are some of the warning signs when I'm overstressed? We might also use words like anxious or depressed, but we might not even mean the clinical terms here. Just take a few moments to jot down or think of some of the ways you notice when you're not performing at your peak. If you're not sure what your own personal warning signs might be, try to think about what you observe in other people maybe. Friends, family, classmates. That might clue you in to some of the common warning signs. I'll give you a few moments to make a list, and then I'll share some. See if you noted any of these. You might notice some sleep disturbances. Maybe you're sleeping more or less than usual. Just a disrupted sleep schedule in general. Maybe you're feeling really restless at night, or you're staying up late, can't fall asleep, or getting up really early for no reason. Maybe you notice eating or appetite changes. Might be eating out of boredom or stress eating, emotional eating. Maybe you're not eating and skipping meals, not having an appetite. You might notice some weight fluctuations. What about interpersonal changes? Avoiding friends and social functions, isolating in your room, missing class, just kind of a loss of interest in engaging and connecting with other people. You might notice some attitude or mental and emotional changes like trouble concentrating, maybe you're extra forgetful. I know that happens to me. Easily distracted, maybe excessive worrying or catastrophizing, thinking of like the worst case scenarios all the time. Maybe you're feeling fearful or just negative, pessimistic, irritability with others, edgy. Stress can affect our physical health as well, so we might notice some somatic and physical complaints like headaches, nausea, stomach aches, maybe even chronic illnesses. Maybe you find yourself always sick or having a cold. Sometimes muscle tension, and then feeling tired, fatigued, just lacking that energy, feeling lethargic, or the opposite, feeling really restless and keyed up all the time. So this list is not exhaustive, but it's helpful to start thinking about what are some of the ways stress affects me. And as we come to know ourselves better, we can also know how best we. I realize that the term wellness and even self-care gets tossed around a lot these days, but I think it's helpful for us to really think about wellness as a broad, kind of holistic term. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, wellness is a broad concept that means being healthy in many dimensions of our lives. That includes the emotional, physical, occupational, intellectual, financial, social, environmental, and spiritual parts. These dimensions are interconnected, one dimension building on another and influencing each other. Wellness is about how we live our lives and the joy and fulfillment and health we experience in all aspects. But again, a problem in one area can influence and create problems in other areas, and that's when we get out of balance. For example, when we worry about money, the financial domain, maybe we're being in debt or having to pay back student loans or just having trouble affording what we need. We might experience anxiety, which is the emotional dimension. This can lead to medical problems, which affects the physical dimension. And maybe we're having trouble at work. We can't concentrate, we're missing work, whatever. That's the occupational dimension. When this happens, we might even question our own sense of meaning and purpose, our career path. That kind of falls in the spiritual domain. And at the same time, when we're not working, occupational, we might lose opportunities to interact with others, social, and we may not be able to afford the good food and medical care we need to stay well, physical and financial. We may even need to move out of our home to a place that feels less safe and secure, environmental. So those are just some of the ways that the dimensions interact with and influence one another. But let's personalize it to. Let's take a look here. So write down or take a mental note of what areas you feel like you are balancing well and describe how. So I'll give you some examples as you're kind of thinking through each domain. Career. Are you in a major that aligns with your career goals and values? Physical. Do you practice yoga 3 times per week already? Social. Do you have a game night with friends or talk to your family in your home state or home country at least once a week? Spiritual. Do you have a spiritual or religious practice? Or do you connect with nature or another way you seek serenity and meaning? Emotional. Do you journal, have a therapist, take a bubble bath a few times a week? Environmental. Is the space you work, study, or live in calming and safe? Is your bedroom set up in a pleasing way? Financial. Are you able to afford classes and rent and food? Basic necessities? Are you budgeting any extra money to save? And intellectual. Do you have any activities that are mentally stimulating? Yes, classes, but maybe you play chess or read, or you've joined the philosophy club. So really think about 1, 2, or 3 or more things you can do to take care of your wellness in that domain. Give yourself credit even for the very small things that you're doing for your health and well-being. And now take a step back and look at your list. What do you notice? Do you have something in every row of the doing well column? Or which ones might be missing some notes? My guess is, just like me, you have a few spots that are lacking right now. Maybe you have nothing written in one or two or three of the areas. Or maybe you have 4 in most areas, but only 1 in some of them. Now take a few moments to fill in some ideas with things you'd like to change, improve, expand, build upon. Maybe you haven't been socializing as much because of the stay-at-home order, so you want to make an effort to FaceTime or text some old friends to reconnect. Maybe you lost your job as a server and need to think about finding some online work, maybe online tutoring perhaps. Maybe since the gym is closed, you haven't been moving your body at all. So check out some free YouTube channels or ask a friend to take a walk in a park, 6 feet away, of course. Think about small, manageable, but meaningful things you can do. Write those down. Now take a moment and set an intention to continue practicing what you have in your Doing Well column and choose one of the ideas in the Like to Change column to implement this week, right now. The idea here is that we don't have to have the same number of things in each column. It's about striking a meaningful balance where our different needs are being intentionally taken care of. Well done. Excellent job with today's self-reflective practice of thinking about our stress and starting to develop a wellness plan for achieving more balance. Before we wrap up and I share some resources with you, I want to end with another brief mindfulness exercise. This is a short breathing exercise. The goal here is to focus in on our breath as an anchor, a centering place, to once again help us focus inward and stay in the present moment for just a little bit longer. We are going to practice breathing in slowly through our noses and out through our mouths. As we inhale, we're going to pick a word to silently say to ourselves on the in-breath. And then as we exhale, we'll pick a different word to say on the out-breath. Here are some ideas. In, out. This is a simple focus on your breathing. Deep, slow. If you want to focus on slowing down your mind and your breath. Calm, ease. If you are needing some inner peace right now. Smile, release. If you're wanting to embrace that good mood you might be in after thinking of all the good self-care and wellness things you're doing for yourself. And here, now, to again bring awareness to the present moment. We are going to take 5 breaths at our own pace using our mantras of choice. Great job. As you let go of that practice, I'm going to share with you some services and additional resources that the Counseling Center and other campus offices have for you. For the rest of the spring 2020 semester, the Counseling Center is offering a number of different services and supports to students. We have transitioned to telemental health services, a confidential Zoom session. Call our office manager to get started. You'll complete some electronic paperwork and then get scheduled for a brief screening appointment with a counselor. The goal for that appointment is to learn a little bit more about your concerns and needs and to establish some next steps and recommendations moving forward. Whether that be for a campus or community referral or support, or any number of our awesome wellness workshops, seminars, or short-term goal-focused individual or group counseling. Check out our website for more information. And even during these strange times, and even if you're away from campus, there are a number of offices that are still offering support and resources however they can. Please reach out and get your needs met. I have a number of different offices listed here, but go on MavLife, Facebook, the MNSU website to really find what you're looking for. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, wash your hands,